All right, that was shorter than I thought it was going to be. All right, hello everybody, and welcome to episode 378 of Pixels and Ink, the official podcast of CGMagazine, where we take a critical eye to gaming, comics, tech, and media. I'm your host today, Chris DeHoog, and I'm joined by our editor-in-chief, Brendan Fry.
Hello there.
And Jordan Biordi.
How's it going?
And we're here to talk about some early January game industry news, because this is when the industry's starting to wake up after the holiday lull, and we've got some ridiculous stories to talk about, actually.
Yes.
All the drama is unfolding as the Days Gone director, Jeff Ross, is getting on the soapbox quite often these days to talk about the perceived failure, so to speak, of Days Gone. Which that's 2 years out now, right? That was a 2019
yeah,
game.
I mean
the
what's it called? The PC version only launched last year, I believe.
Okay, so it's still relatively fresh, but so this was a 2020 game, right? Because it launched against Ghost of Tsushima, which is actually one of the points of contention. That it was Ross feels it was compared unfairly to Ghost of Tsushima, which was praised for selling about 8 million copies, while Days Gone did about the same. And yeah, so
seems like it would be the other way around on that one.
But yeah, what did you guys think about Ross's comments this week or recently?
It's really hard to say. I mean, I feel that his point wasn't wrong, that it did get a lot of flack because it didn't really get the critical reception that Ghost of Tsushima did get. And that being said, I don't necessarily think that was unwarranted. I think there's a lot of problems with the game. There's a lot of good ideas within Days Gone, but there was also a lot of kind of jankiness to the entire world.
I mean, I remember when I saw the initial trailer for Days Gone, and I just rolled my eyes and it just completely glazed over, because I was like, in the year of our Lord 2019, 2020, when this game was announced / came out, who the hell honestly thought that it was a good idea to put out yet another open world zombie survival game with crafting elements and a stupid motorcycle?
But that motorcycle was real cool.
It's not cool enough to sell a game, apparently.
Norman Reedus did it.
Yeah, no, but that had the added benefit of being Norman Reedus.
Yeah.
This was who's the guy from Being Human and that Jedi game?
He's in Shameless, and he's the Joker.
No, that's not right.
Okay, I think you're talking about Jedi Fallen Order or some other Jedi game.
The other Jedi game.
So you're talking about Star Wars Unleashed. So Sam Witwer.
That's it.
Yeah, he had some things to say about the whole experience too, about journalists not playing the game properly for reviews. And
did they?
He really threw journalists under the bus for quote unquote not playing the game properly or not seeing enough of the game before they reviewed it. Something about missing the horde mode in it. I wasn't in the field at the time.
That would have saved it, all right.
No, that would have really pulled it up to the 8 or 9 point.
Yeah, that would have made up for all the bugs and the bull crap.
I don't think it was a bad game. I just think it had a lot of problems.
Yeah, it was a bit undercooked, but like I said, even the best of those kinds of games at this point, the genre has been beaten to death. Nobody cares about it anymore. Not even Back 4 Blood didn't even review that well. For as many problems as it had, nobody really cared, just because again, it's more zombies and it's
yeah. Back 4 Blood had that Left 4 Dead pedigree. Otherwise, I think it would have landed with very much a wet flop, as much as Days Gone kind of.
Yeah, exactly.
I mean, Days Gone, it technically looked nice, sure enough, but it also, I was also at that time really tired of The Walking Dead itself. I stopped watching the show a year or two before that. So to basically turn that into a game that does nothing for me, right down to bargain bin Norman Reedus ripoff. And someday we'll have an episode of the show where we don't talk about Reedus, but that's 2 weeks.
That's impossible. I just don't. It's a lot of people were complaining the fact it didn't get the reviews they thought it deserved. I don't think that would have changed anything, and I think Sony's choice to put accolades on it or not put on it is not really related to any of that stuff. Like, Ghost of Tsushima still doesn't have a sequel, so it's not as if it's getting a sequel and Days Gone isn't, or something along those lines. It's more of just the fact that there's more staying power to one over the other, and the storyline to one just had more impact than the other.
Yeah, and more originality in the concept too. Like, that's something that's Ghost of Tsushima isn't something that people have done to death. Like, it's been a while since we had like a Kurosawa type story of any medium, really.
Yeah.
Well, that's the thing too. Like, even like, you know, like debatably, you could say that like a game like Ghost of Tsushima has kind of been done to death, because, you know, the whole like just the open world game with stealth crafting, all that stuff, like Assassin's Creed and all that stuff, like it kind of has been done to death. But because it really had that cool like samurai setting and like the Kurosawa flair behind it, like, and like artistically it had a lot of like vision behind it, it stood out a lot more than just, you know, yet another zombie game with survival mechanics.
Yeah, and that being said too, like, it's not like Ghost of Tsushima is like a perfect game by any means.
Oh.
I reviewed the director's cut. It's like played for the first time this past summer, and it's a fantastic game, amazing, beautiful experience. But there's a lot they left on the table that they could have done more with. Like, I felt like the story choices weren't really relevant, and, you know, it didn't really matter how you play the game. It kind of forced you down those avenues anyways. So, I mean, definitely wasn't a perfect game either, but, you know,
not every game can be Death Stranding, let's face it.
Oh, well,
that epic game.
That pillar of.
That's how you do open world games, pet fellas. Just put some ghosts and deliver packages, and Norman Reedus.
Oil whales.
Up on the echelon of perfect games, we have Death Stranding. Yeah, where's Death Stranding 2 at, anyways? But that talk about sequels.
It's
coming. Maybe not. Who knows?
Well,
Death Stranding 2, Sons of Liberty.
Kojima did say it was the first Strand type game, so who knows what other Strand type games he has cooking up in that old noodle of his. The Strandoverse, yeah.
Terrifies me. Just make my controller move across the floor again. I just want more Psycho Mantis nonsense.
Metal Gear Stranding.
Ooh.
Speaking of Metal Gear, there was actually an interesting story up on the website. It's not on our outline here, actually, for the show, but some unused scripts of service for Metal Gear Solid 5. I personally didn't play 5. I've been turned off from the series since like the second one.
Really?
Why?
Because Metal Gear Solid is like this. I still think of it as like a masterpiece, and everything after that kind of soured. Like, I had a hard time getting into the concept of 3 when it came out, and just never got around to it.
Interesting. It's interesting that you say that, because I missed. So I only ever really played Metal Gear 1 when they re-released it on the Cube.
Right.
And I think that like the only reason that I enjoyed it as much as I did was because of like how much they improved the gameplay of it. Like, I went back and played on the PS1, and it is like impossible. Even like the first fight with Psycho Mantis is like nuts compared to the Cube version. And then I didn't play 2, just like out of, you know, not really owning a PS2 till way late into its lifespan. And then, yeah, like when I played 3 for the first time, it was the 3DS version, which was like, again, not the way to play it. No. So like my gap of Metal Gear really went from 1 to 5, and I was like obsessed with 5 when it came out. Like, it was so good.
Now, see, I eventually played 4 when I got my PS3, because it had been out for a while, and I was like all excited to try this out and see where it had gone, and it just did nothing for me.
Yeah, I heard.
Well, and then having David Hayter missing too is like, why?
Yeah.
This isn't Snake. I don't care who you cast. It's Hayter or nothing.
That bothered me a bit, or a lot too. Even with sort of like a loose connection to Metal Gear, like respecting the pedigree of Hayter as the voice of Solid Snake was kind of that. It really was that really like kind of slimy game industry thing where it was like, let's take, you know, a prominent voice actor who earned his status as this guy's voice, and, you know, slap in the big famous Hollywood actor. Like, who cares?
Yeah, it's like, it's bad enough that they get cast for movies and stuff, but
both were Canadian.
Yeah, it's true.
Yeah, so they at least stuck to that gun. That's something consistency somewhere.
I remember hearing 4 was a rough experience, because I like
4.
people, but like people that I knew who really loved the series were like, just like, it's like literally like you walk for 5 minutes, here's a 20-minute cutscene. You shoot a guy, here's another 30-minute cutscene.
I don't think that's true. I think there was there were a lot of
Chris
moments
is like,
of that.
That's an exaggeration, but yeah, no, it's not.
There was some of that though.
Yeah.
Well,
I mean,
I remember
even Metal Gear was bad for that. Like, you got a lot of cutscenes on Metal Gear. Like,
Yeah.
that was unheard of amount of cinema in that game at the time.
I heard a lot of people say like 4 was the example where you could see where like Kojima really just wanted to make a movie, but he's like just still making games.
I'm actually surprised he hasn't done a full-blown movie at this point. Like, he's already in like really tight with Del Toro and
Yeah.
and stuff. Like, you have the means to just make a movie.
But now, did you play Metal Gear Rising: Revengeance?
No,
Because that one, oh boy, that is a fucking romp.
No, that was the full-blown Raiden.
Oh yeah,
sequel, right?
He literally like picks up, like he suplexes a Metal Gear.
Like yeah, you know all that kooky crap we added into Twin Snakes? Here's a game of it.
Mass is just a number.
Yeah. What could go wrong? Speaking of what could go wrong and nonsense, NFTs.
Hooray!
Hooray!
The future, it's here finally.
That's
just like we envisioned.
So recently, we didn't get a chance to talk about this last week because we spent the whole episode talking about our Game of the Year picks and things like that. But Square Enix president Matsuda,
oh my god,
on started the year off with a real bang, talking about possibilities of Square Enix using blockchains and NFTs in their games and all this other nonsense. Gamers everywhere kind of said, "What the hell are you doing?" And the shareholders said, "Hey, we're in." Like, the stocks actually went up.
I really loved it because James Stephanie Sterling did a great video on it. That like Square Enix, who debatably is the most famous, like their most famous, well-known game is Final Fantasy VII, and that game's like first chapter plot is about an evil corporation driven by greed to destroy the planets. And here is Square Enix now, completely like blissfully unaware of the irony, doing that in real life. like, oh my god, it's
art
so
imitates
gross.
life, and life imitates art, I guess, too.
Like, did they not? I mean, obviously, like Konami too, because like Konami is Konami, and Konami is the worst. Like, they're more concerned about doing everything wrong as opposed to making video games. Like, they were gonna, seeing them get into the NFT game was kind of just like, okay, yeah, what else you got? But it's like does nobody learned? Like, Ubisoft couldn't get this thing off the ground. Like, I guess, because Peter Molyneux made a ton of money off of his slimy NFT game, like people were like, oh yeah, this is the way we're going to do it. Like, and how are video game NFTs, like the way that they're presenting it, even the way Ubisoft presented it, like how are they different from like just regular in-app purchases?
That's the thing, right? There's almost like a misconception even too that like they're equivalent, right? Square Enix actually shadow dropped this new Final Fantasy spin-off game called Chocobo GP Dash. It's like a really bare bones. I don't even want to call it racing. It's more like a mini game where you have a forward button and a back button, and you're moving a chocobo through these really simple courses. And such is the damage to the company's trust that I saw people online saying, "Oh, this is an NFT or something." Isn't it? Like, there's gonna be NFTs involved in this. Like, it's NFTs are just like, obviously there's a whole technical side that I don't fully. I'll admit I don't fully understand the whole ramifications of the blockchain and the damage to the environment. Not denying it, I'm just saying I don't personally understand it. But
it's just I could break it down for you pretty basically. So it's basically like the amount of like, so the currency that's typically used for it, Ethereum. It takes a lot of data, like to use it and like to share it, and all that data has to be stored on servers. And the more servers that you have to use to like store all that data, basically like needs a lot of energy, which is detrimental to the environment. Like, because where is that energy going to come from?
Right. So yeah, basically people were saying, "Oh, this is an NFT or something," but like, no. If anything, it's just standard currencies and DLC and stuff. Like, can't just throw the NFT thing around as though it's the same thing we've been getting charged for in games for the past 10 years. But at the same time, like they've damaged their trust now. People are just like, is this some kind of scam to get like NFTs out of us or something?
It pretty much, yeah. Like, yeah. I feel like time and time again, the game industry has shown us that like there is more. Like now, the facade has been completely dropped. Like when they AAA gaming really did try to justify it with microtransactions and loot boxes and how they they definitely add value to the game, but realistically they were just in the moment cash grab techniques. And once they kind of became faux pas, they were dropped really quickly. Like now it's like they just moved on to the next one. All people are trading NFTs is like this big money making scam right now. How can we get in on the ground floor of it? Like,
yeah, Matsudo's letter kind of reads like, hey, we have a chance to make some money here, we're going to investigate it, and it's kind of tone deaf and everything like that, which you can't blame a business for trying to make money. That's what they're there for. But at the same time, it's like, read the room. Like Ubisoft just weeks before got destroyed by their own employees.
But here's the thing that drives me crazy about just that kind of mentality is you can't fault a business for wanting to make money, but these guys are in the business of making video games. Like, why do they feel the need to chase all these extra revenue streams? Like they already have. Is it not enough to have microtransactions, to have loot boxes, to have paid sponsorships, to have tie-ins, to have all this extra stuff? It's like, why can't you just make a video game, ship it, get the money that you made from the game you made, and then use that money to make the next game? That's how it used to work.
Whoa. Crazy. Make a good game and ship it. What?
No, we need to have our Totino's pizza roll tie-in.
I mean, Jordan, they've always had tie-ins and all this other stuff. I mean, remember Cool Spot the game?
Well, okay, but that's
the McDonald's game, the Burger King game.
Okay, I'm not saying it's never been there. I'm just saying it is decidedly
the California Raisins game.
But
okay,
but you know what? I disagree, because at least the McDonald's game, at least they were video games. They were products to consume. They were games. It's not just here's a half-baked game that you could also, hey, go buy some Totino's pizza rolls and type in the code. I don't want to have to buy pizza. If I want to buy a McDonald's video game, at least it's a fucking video game.
Is it though?
You know what? The actual old McKids game on the NES is a lot better than it gets credit for. It was halfway competent. Cool Spot was garbage.
as Fizzle Gig in the chat pointed out, the Burger King bike riding game was fun. So they're not all.
Was it? Sneak King.
You know what? That's what I mean. Those games, as irreverent as they were at least games to play.
Not JPEGs, not fancy environmentally challenging JPEGs. And if Square Enix doing NFTs doesn't quite get your fancy, Konami's also trying to get in on the deal too for the.
I mean, of course they did.
For the 35th anniversary of Castlevania, because why make a game when you can just make pachinko machines and NFTs?
Mm-hmm.
They don't have any good franchises in their pocket or anything,
No, none. Well, but this is the thing too, and I've been, and I keep saying it. It's like as realistically, there's no reason to support any of this, and as far as it goes, towards the properties that they have, it's those properties don't exist in a vacuum. You know what I mean? You could still make a game like Silent Hill and have it be just as good. Igarashi made. Yeah. Igarashi made Bloodstained, and not only did he make a really solid Metroidvania style version of it, they made two side scrolling 8-bit old classic Castlevania style games that were just as good. You can still make those games and just not have to call them Castlevania.
Yeah. But you don't have that pedigree there, so yeah. Now they're just gonna make NFTs out of the anniversary, and don't worry, they'll check you to make sure that your username isn't socially unacceptable. Unlike the one that our writer Dennis pointed out as a Boner Gamer 69 will not fly.
I mean,
it's a real shame.
Fair. I mean, I do love my Boner Gamer 69, but I guess
we all know you've used that hashtag for years, but
the classic, the man, the myth, the legend. XX weed smoker X hashtag 420 XX
hashtag blaze it 420. Yeah.
You know me so well. That is definitely who I am.
Yeah, it was
100%.
your gamer tag back in the day.
Truth is revealed. Anyways, moving on from empty nonsense. It was revealed recently that E3 2022 will be online again, which I can't say I'm totally surprised. I didn't think the way things were going that it was going to actually happen. But Jordan, you actually had a really interesting piece on the website this week about whether or not we still need E3.
Tell me what you really thought.
Come with the car.
What was your favorite part of the article? What was your favorite sentence?
You tell me what your favorite part was.
I definitely read it.
Oh, I should know. So. Just blacked out. You woke up. The article was fully formed.
I went into a fugue state. Just started typing.
You know something, Jordan? I wouldn't be surprised.
Yeah, that's how I do my best writing, Brandon.
It would explain a few things.
I slip into my alternate personality. I go to the dark place and the quiet.
That actually would explain a lot.
Yeah. So I came up with a little article because I've been thinking about this for a little while now about and part of it was a little bit more like brought on by my feelings towards the game awards this year.
Okay. Yeah.
Where it really, like, number one, it really does feel like in a year or two, really, where a lot of like the industry's really like dirty, bad side has been brought to light. Like things like the Game Awards and E3, which are these like monumental like moments in gaming that kind of celebrate the industry, feel like they don't belong in an industry that doesn't really like deserve celebration right now. And I've also kind of felt about it for for a little while now that like E3 kind of as an event, as big as it is, just doesn't really feel as special as it used to. Like just because like the way E3 sort of used to work back in sort of like the early days to like pre-internet days, of like you really did have to like genuinely wait for big information on games. You know what I mean? Like you had your like monthly gaming magazines, and then when E3 rolled around, it was like the big deal of the year. But it's like nowadays information about like game development, like the whole process from start to finish of like game development, like from announcement to release, is so like openly shared and widely available that it really hardly feels necessary to have like an event like E3, where half of the time most of these developers or these or publishers don't really have anything like ready to show. They have a JPEG or an MP4 of a logo, and it's like, oh, get ready, that game is definitely coming. Like, who remembers? How many people actually remember that Bethesda announced a new Elder Scrolls like how many years ago? Like,
oh, it's a while ago. Oh my god, that was
that's what I mean. That was like 2018 or 2017. E3,
yeah, it was one of the last ones before the pandemic.
Yeah. They just showed a landscape and a title, and it's like, oh yeah, that's a game. Like that's a concept.
I mean, to be fair, Microsoft also did that with Fable.
Oh yeah, absolutely. But even Fable's a prime example too. Like it's a lot of this. It's a lot of these things. Like it's like a lot of these like AAA publishers feel so desperate to have something for E3 that they just like they're not even like ready to announce it, but they need to have content. Whereas like I feel like as far back as I actually didn't even realize that it was as far back as 2014 that Nintendo stopped showing up at E3 and just started doing digital events. I thought it was I thought they started doing it in 2015. So like I feel like they've kind of proven that you really don't need like a big production for like E3 specifically, when you can have like reasonable announcements throughout the year.
Yeah, that was an Iwata thing too. Yeah, and then you mentioned it.
That's what I mean.
He was behind the first few directs. Yeah, I hadn't kind of connect those dots either.
So like it's and not to say that Nintendo like obviously like is free from this too, because they always for the last couple of years they really have they've come to E3 with at least like one big announcement, but really nothing bigger than what they would have shown at like a typical like yearly Nintendo Direct. Like, so it just kind of seems to be like really there's really no need to have an E3 anymore. Like when it's just like you can make this, and it puts a lot less pressure, I think, on the publishers, on the developers. And I know you said, Brendan, that like E3 is a reasonable excuse for like a lot of these companies to kind of like balance their books and just like, if they have like money left over at the end of the year, they could spend it on E3. But it just seems to me like it's.
I said that a long time ago, but it is true.
Yes, that is true, but it's stuck up in here.
Well, it's also any event, like there's a marketing budget, and E3 is the marketing budget. They could spend that on E3. They could also spend it on their own events. They could spend it on a stream. They could spend it on a tournament. There's lots of ways companies can spend this money, but it is all they have to spend a certain amount of money for marketing, and E3 is one of the marketing opportunities.
Well, that's part of my argument there, is that like, if you sort of eliminate the necessity for these things and maybe you sort of reevaluate your marketing budget, you can take a big percentage of that budget and redirect it into maybe, I don't know, paying your employees livable wages. Like,
they don't do that though.
No, of course not.
I mean, Jordan, the answer is they have to market the game. Like no matter what they do, even if they don't do E3, they're going to market it a different way. They might do sponsorships, they might do paid Twitch streamers, they might do lots of different things. It just might not be the giant booth at a convention that only journalists and a select few of the industry get to go to.
Yeah, I mean, I think we're going to see the nature of this beast change a lot in the next few years, because to answer like the point of your article and your think piece here, do we need E3 in its current form? I think we've proven that we don't need the current iteration, or at least the pre-pandemic iteration, because like you said, we saw all the other all these publishers and developers develop their own kind of stand-ins for these things. Like Square Enix started Square Enix Presents, where they get Matthew Mercer to talk up some trailers.
State of Play.
State of Play. Nintendo's killing it with the Nintendo Direct still, and even have dedicated indie directs. All this stuff.
ID at Xbox does some stuff.
Everybody's kind of got their own stand-in for this now, or at least most major publishers are starting to put this in place and make it like a recurring thing. But I don't know. I really feel there is still a place for E3, but not so much to like celebrate the industry for the industry's sake, like it kind of was, for a self-sustaining, almost masturbatory thing of like, hey, we're the gaming industry. How great are we? But no. In its current form, no, we don't need it, but I think we do need to reinvent it somehow and to get it back and up to date in a relevant form. And I don't just say that because I really want to go to an E3 one day, and I haven't had the chance because of the pandemic. It's not at all a personal bias thing.
I mean, we'll see. I mean, the answer is, I think there's a place for E3, there's a place for PAX, there's a place for all these events. It's just as a giant show of wealth, I don't think they have as much place, and I don't think they have as much place for just to show off how amazing the industry is, as you said. I think it is a place to give, because it is hard to kind of bring journalists all over the country with all these different countries, bringing them saying, oh, we have to see this latest game and this latest game. It is a good way to kind of having a central location that journalists can see like 30 games at once, which is something that is a lot harder to do without an in-person event.
Well, and that's something I touched on in my article as well too, is that like, just the nature of how journalists like present this information. Realistically, it's always generally squared on the games. So like, you don't need to really be on the show floor, like, especially personally, I haven't been to E3, but like I know from your experiences and former writers that like it's. You really, as a fan of video games, if you go there as a journalist, you can't enjoy it because it's like you're bouncing between okay, here's the Microsoft showcase, then once that's so we got to run over to the Bethesda one, then we got to run over to the Ubisoft, and we got to run over, like, so it's just all day, it's just nonstop. And it even now, like, it feels almost a little bit less special because it's like they opened it up to the public now. So it's not really like it's a, you know, once in a year event for journalists to really like, you know, to really like have like their big moment. It's like it's just a kind of another convention. But like, you know, anything you put out as in trailer form, if you have these kind of like directs or, you know, the like the live stream sort of like trailer things, that's all like the readers and most journalists are really focused on. It's not like the actually being on the show floor and getting that experience. Like you can drop a trailer and we'll write about it in, you know, in half an hour. Like, you know, we can set up interviews with developers and stuff. That stuff can be done throughout the year. Like during the show floor, you know, pumping out those articles, doing those interviews and writing them, transcribing and editing and all that stuff. That takes way too long. You're not going to focus on that during the event. That all comes after.
Yeah, it's another element too. Yeah, like the pandemic has proven that we don't necessarily need this as a delivery method for those things. Just yesterday, I spent the afternoon in a demo session for an upcoming game, which I can't talk about. But yeah, no,
I remember what you did.
It was
today as well.
It was a pretty easy process if you think about it. Like you just install this thing with this code, and boom, delete it out, like burn after reading, and you're off to the races. Like you don't need to go across the country to play a demo anymore. So that's one of the many things they need to kind of reconcile in the next kind of iteration of E3, whatever it is, and whenever it actually happens in person.
Sorry, Chris, I don't mean to cut you off there. I think like even in my own experience of doing that too, like when I got to do the Solar Ash preview, like it definitely does seem like it's genuinely easier for the like interviewee, you know, just because like, again, like, you know, you had Alex Preston in a Discord chat with like 15 other journalists. And while he's sort of demoing, you know, there's a minute where he can sort of stop and take questions and your people can type in their questions if they have them. Like it's easier to address each person like and actually like get to that thing than like, you know, to be constantly setting up interviews and have like, okay, I have to have a half an hour blocked here, half an hour blocked here, half an hour blocked here, just one solid session, you know, and then you can actually deal with this many people all at once, you know. So it's easier for them too.
Yeah, and that was actually a good point too about the public being involved too. That was it's been so long since that's kind of changed that I kind of forgot it was even a thing. That used to be this very exclusive thing. I do very well remember waiting for those extra fat issues of like Electronic Game Magazine or whatever. Like when the E3 news would come up, like the June issue's coming up, like here comes all the news. Now it's just like you just tune into Twitter during the day and like, okay, this is coming. This is coming. Okay, neat. And it's like kind of lost that charm a little bit. But when E3 does happen, I do expect to see quite a few Razer Zephyr masks on people's faces, provided that they can actually get their hands on them. Although Razer did catch a little bit of flack this week when their claims about these masks being N95 certified were busted, like it was an episode of Mythbusters.
Yeah, that was
they
sad.
made some. Yeah, I mean it's disappointing. We personally around the CGM Slack chat have been pretty enthusiastic about these things.
Yeah. I really want one. Razer, if you're listening.
We kind of went through this like collective ride of this is so ridiculous. Oh my god, I really, really want to get my hands on one of these. So yeah, Razer had claimed that the filters were N95 certified, but as you might be able to tell from the price point, like it's $100 for this reusable voice amplified face mask, and the filters within are not N95 certified, and that they do not have 99% bacterial filtration efficiency.
Oh, that's not great.
No, it's a little disappointing. Razer,
that's just like flagrant false marketing.
Yeah, pretty much the definition. To the point where now Razer has tweeted out a disclaimer saying that they are not medical devices, respirators, surgical masks, or PPE, and are not to be used in medical or clinical settings, which I don't think was the concern.
I mean, I kind of want to see the situation where you do wear a Zephyr mask in a hospital.
I would love to see if I went in for surgery and my doctor was wearing a Zephyr mask, I would trust him 100%. Like,
because you know he's been grinding on Surgeon Simulator, like you know he's been tuning up.
He's got that really sick like RGB pattern going. I was like, all right, this guy's on the level.
That's the last thing you see. Like, everything goes dark, but the RGBs are just pulsing in front of you.
Yeah.
And I want his voice changed to kind of Darth Vader sounding.
We're in good hands.
You're like, is that real, or am I tripping off the gas? And then you're out.
You don't know. You never will know.
it's a very peaceful. It's a very peaceful way to go into slumber.
I find your lack of sleep disturbing.
I actually want to say that I saw someone in the replies to them when they announced the Pro model or the upgraded model of the Zephyr saying that I've been using this in a clinic. Why? Can I see your license to practice medicine? Why would you?
I question a lot of things going on with that because it's just don't do that.
Well, you know what? I can sort of understand why. Again, like if they initially claimed that they were like N95 certified and safe, like that, because that was their whole marketing campaign, right? It's like, hey, we're making a safe mask for you to wear during this pandemic, and it's cool.
I mean, cool.
Debatably,
from a certain point of view.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
So yeah, I mean that's kind of disappointing. Those claims were made in the first place when they shouldn't have been. But
yeah,
good on Razer to owning up to it, I guess. But yeah, probably shouldn't try to pass off these things as
But do you honestly think they would have owned up to it had they not been myth busted?
Well, no, because
they
would have put it in the tweet in the first place, right? Like,
good on them, asterisks.
Yeah, I mean, you did the right thing after doing the wrong.
Yeah, after you got caught
doing a questionable thing. And yes, hello Dana from the chat. You can now sound like Bane, but I can do that anyway.
I mean,
that was bad. I apologize.
I was born in it.
No, you don't need the hands to do it.
Yeah,
the hands are only for the. It's only for the grip. It's only for the grip to roleplay it.
You have to muffle. You can only understand every third word.
I was wondering which would break first.
Oh my god.
Anyways, speaking of, so some sad news actually this week as well. In that comedian and actor Bob Saget passed away over the weekend unexpectedly. Yes. Another really sad story.
Very unexpectedly.
Yeah.
Did
we talk about Betty White?
I don't think we did.
I don't think we mentioned Betty White also.
Oh yeah, no.
Chris, are you not aware?
No, that kind of got lost in the Game of the Year shuffle as well. And I mean, known pro strategy gamer Betty White. Yeah.
Well, it's just
she's hardcore.
She's just a big person in the industry, and I think she's been in enough movies we would have covered on the channel.
No, she hasn't actually. I looked at a list of movies. It's actually very small.
Well, like animated movies.
Even then, small.
Yeah.
A lot of TV appearances and a lot of like cameos, but not really many.
Like
She really didn't act all that much.
Well, towards like to her older age, she wasn't really like.
I mean, she wasn't young. Let's be clear here. She lived a good life.
It's the heartbreaking thing to me with like both of these stories was just like the circumstance to both of them, because you have a situation like Betty White where she was literally like 2 weeks away from her 100th
17
birthday.
days, I think was what it was.
Yeah,
it's the 17th. And she died on New Year's Day.
Yeah, so she was a little 2 weeks or more away from her this milestone birthday, and she kicks the bucket. And then Bob Saget, who 65? Just literally. Well, 65, yeah, but it's just like again, like the circumstance, like he just finished a show and he went back.
And he was really happy about it. And
just
apparently,
he was. He tweeted about it that night. He was like really ecstatic. Gets back to his hotel room, heart attack.
That is super sad.
Thanks for pointing out in the chat too, Dana, that we also lost Sidney Poitier recently too.
Oh yeah, that was sad.
So there's a theory that celebrities go in threes, and there's your three.
Yeah.
When the news came up about Bob, I saw it through our Slack chat first of all, and I noticed earlier in the day that tweet that he had a really good show and all these things. Bob Saget, I watched Full House as a kid, like everyone my age mostly did, and America's Funniest Home Videos. They fell off the face of the earth, and they resurfaced, and everyone's like, "Oh my god, he's stand up so filthy."
Yeah,
some of the things he talked about were really questionable, even for a assumed persona like he used on stage. But in recent years, like I've seen his podcast take off. Like many stand-up comedians, he started a podcast for the past couple of years and had a full lineup of guests, and really seemed to be turning his proverbial life around after some hard circumstances. I heard him on, I want to say it was Mark Maron's podcast, but just talking about his childhood and some of the crap he went through when he was younger. It's just amazing. And then all of a sudden just gone like that. Have you guys heard of the cause of death? I don't think I've
So
seen
that was heart
that.
attack. From what
It was a heart
I've
attack,
heard.
from what I've
Was it?
heard. Yeah. I don't know if it's officially been released as like through an autopsy report, but I think that like they're saying like early speculation, or they're saying it was a heart attack.
They said it was not any kind of foul play or drugs. So
that was clear from the police's report when they found him. Dana from the chat says he was in his sleep, much like Betty White too. Like they had said that she had a stroke around Christmas Day actually, and it was complications or side effects of that, and being 99. That's and she passed away as well. So
that's fair.
Yeah, sort of a downer, but sad start to the year. But
yeah, but I mean, we're like, we're stuck in this eternal hell loop. So it just
we're
like
in death loop right now. We're living death loop right now.
I didn't want to make that one, but
I was about to say I feel like being in death loop would be a lot more fun because we could kick dudes off of balconies and we'd get to be cool 70s style assassins. But this is just like
true.
This is like a Hellraiser puzzle box that we're stuck in. Like,
you are bleak today, Jordan.
Well, give me a friggin' break here. Like, holy shit, we just again, like, we started off again, second year of a pandemic. Nobody's getting their act together. And third year of is it third? No,
it's going on the third.
Well, going into the third year, I guess. Yeah.
Well, I guess it did. I guess okay. It was like late
2019. It started in March 2019.
No, 2020. March 2020.
No, it was 2020. Okay,
that's right. Because I got Animal Crossing the same kind of like week that it like kicked off.
So all 21. Yeah, this is the third year. This will be the third year.
Yeah, the second anniversary is coming up. Ooh, get your
balloons. Technically, third year. We can't get our shit together, and then all of our like beloved celebrities are dying. Like, this is.
Well, and I should kind of think of it too. Like Bob Saget didn't exactly have a huge career in terms of like sheer number of roles either. Like, kind of like Betty White, he had a couple TV show successes, and that was it's been kind of riding on the stand-up career since then.
I mean, that's fine. He was doing well in stand-up.
Yeah, but Bob Saget, I feel, had like a very like quintessential like 80s comedian career. Like, he started in stand-up, he made it big, like he, in a TV show, and then he kind of like teetered around there. Like he had the name.
He did America's Home Videos.
Yeah, so like it's
for many years.
It's not like it's not like, and I genuinely don't mean this as a dig. Like, it's not like he was like showing up in every movie and he had this like prolific career, right? Like he made it. He sort of like took off in a big way and then kind of like had to find his footing again for a while.
Right.
Yeah, but he's a name everybody knew. Like everybody from our generation knew who he was. Like, I didn't even grow up really watching Full House either. Like, I used to watch America's Funny Home Videos all the time, but I knew who Bob Saget was.
Yeah, then kind of so soon after Norm Macdonald too.
That was
a sad one. I just went back and I rewatched the roast of Bob Saget when Norm did his set. And
was Bob's, eh? Oh my god!
It was where he did this like he just got like, because I think it was the previous the previous roast before, I forget who it was, but it might have been Joan Rivers, or he was told that his set was like too like dirty or too vulgar. So for the roast of Bob Saget, he just pulled up these like really like lame dad jokes and he played it completely straight. Like nobody is laughing, and he just keeps like just rattling them off one after the other. But you could see Bob just like falling over in his chair because he knew exactly what was going on. Like,
yeah, no, that's such a weird coincidence that they passed so close. Like that was just that was because that was a big thing that happened when Norm died. People were talking about like his best sets and things like that, and that one where he just went up there and totally tanked it on purpose. This is like one of them, like, this is a master class in how to like be bad at stand-up comedy but also be a genius at the same time.
That was Norm, man.
Wow. I think that guy Norm really was a expert comedian, I have to say. I just love that. But it's also interesting to see that he would do things just because that was just shits and giggles. Like when he was on the MTVs, what was it? He MTV, like that beach party thing, and he just kind of sat down and was just like And you could see how the MTV host was trying to keep up with them, and they just physically, he just kind of rapid fire, and they're like, "Yeah, I don't know what to do. Yeah, look at the celebrity," and he's like, he just keeps going. They're like, "Do we get rid of him? I don't know what to do."
They're not equipped to handle that.
he really just didn't care, and that's what made him so great. Like,
yeah, he really did. He was a lot of these comedians really were kind of a product of their time, but they did bring some interesting things to the medium of comedy.
Yeah, not caring is actually a really good way to sum it up, because that was his whole shtick about not caring about the network feedback when he would joke about OJ when NBC's president was friends with OJ.
Yeah,
that was kind of the defining trait, but also
that got him kicked off SNL.
Got kicked off SNL.
Yeah, and then they brought him back to host like a year or two later, and he goes, "Well, I guess I was right." I guess it didn't really matter in the end.
They did a great joke about that in Family Guy too. It was a cutaway gag in one of the like newer Christmas episodes where he's reading "'Twas the Night Before Christmas," and the whole thing is him just being like, "'Twas? What is that? Why can't you just say it was?" And then it ends with him being like, "What? I'm fired. All right then. You know that OJ killed a bunch of people."
Oh my god!
Well, there you go.
Ends with him shitting on OJ.
There you go. Two irreverent voices that will not see the like of again, I think.
Yeah.
Last little bit of game news actually before we move on. Nintendo kind of did kind of feels like they did like a Nintendo Direct today, but they didn't. Two big trailers for Kirby and Pokemon games coming out this spring. Kirby and the Forgotten Worlds. It's coming out on March 25th, which is sooner than expected, actually. Yeah, Jordan, tell us about that trailer.
It looked really cool. I don't know to what degree it was really highlighting the supposed like open worldness of the game. There was a little bit where they sort of showed you like kind of like zipping around on the warp star, and I don't know if you could just like land in any spot, but or if it's going to be more like level based with like a big open like sprawling levels you could kind of like move around in. It looks genuinely unique for a Kirby game, like a solid evolution of the concept of the 3D Kirby game, because so far every 3D Kirby game has been like set on a 2D plane for the most part. They showed off a couple new powers. One of them, you just straight up have a gun.
Why not?
Like
Kirby's gonna shoot some fools.
Yeah, he's just capping foos.
What if Kirby had a gun?
Well, I mean, but like he's had like similar powers sort of in like other games, like the Ranger. That's what it's called, the Ranger ability. It looks kind of just like similar to like, you know, like the Archer style or whatever, like from previous games. One of them's like a driller ability where you can like zip into the ground and pop up and kill guys. Meta Knight made an appearance, which is cool. Bandana Waddle Dee made an appearance, so it looks like they're going to have co-op also in it. There's a little town you can build. You have to free Waddle Dees, and you could like have a little town to move around in. I don't know to what degree that's gonna.
You're saying, Jordan, and that all sounds like nonsense to me.
Well,
Waddle Dees are the little like powerless peons that you can.
Yeah, they're like that little reddish looking Kirby's.
Basically, the Goombas of Kirby.
Yeah, more or less. It looks really really interesting. A lot of the levels look really nice. It's got like a really beautiful art style behind it. A lot of like really dynamic settings and like good use of lighting and color. So I'm interested to see like what it coalesces into.
Yeah, the one screenshot I saw kind of looks like a 3D Mario World style of like splitting the worlds up, through the levels up, which is an interesting approach to go with, especially if
it's like Kirby Odyssey.
Yeah, Kirby Odyssey / 3D World, I guess. Yeah, more or less. Which I mean, if you're gonna play this heavily off of the like Mario Odyssey playbook, you might as well lean a little bit more into it and just embrace this map style.
Yeah.
So yeah, the other trailer shown was for Pokemon Legends Arceus, which is coming up very fast actually. So this is the typical like gameplay overview trailer that Nintendo likes to do these days, where they run you through a bunch of the features and things like that. There wasn't a whole lot new shown, just kind of like walking you in detail how you go through the certain gameplay loops of the experience. Although there are some different kinds of encounters you can get to on the map, like the Alpha Pokemon, which are like a a little bigger than the standard varieties of their breeds, as well as I forget, I'm blanking on what they call them, the primal type of like the big boss style Pokemon encounters where you're basically dodging these. They're kind of like the totem Pokemon from Sun and Moon.
Yeah, I forget what they're called now. Spirit Pokemon? I don't know.
The biggins.
Yeah, the biggins.
We'll call them the biggins.
Yeah.
So you're dodging the biggins in these fights and throwing these bombs at them, like to create an opening to get your Pokemon out to fight for a little bit. And it seems like an interesting mechanic. Although I'm still kind of wondering how Arceus is going to fit into this, because we still have not seen hide or hair of it through the whole marketing cycle.
He's got to be there at the start to create all life.
And then that's it.
That's it. The end. Move on. Game over.
Yeah, compared to when we first saw it around this time last year, I want to say it was, I'm a little more impressed with it. I'm definitely feeling more excited, but we'll see how it actually plays when it gets here, because it does look like quite a departure for the series, like where you're crafting items and all this stuff. So
yeah, I don't know. Everything I see about it just makes it look boring still. So,
Brennan, I think you're on mute. I couldn't. Sorry.
No, I'm here.
Oh, okay.
He just cares not for Pokemon or Kirby.
I mean,
he's
not
mouthing
wrong.
What a bunch of BS.
An open world.
No, I might have said some comments that might not be great for our thoughts of the game.
Well, that was our news segment, so we'll kind of shift gears into our reviews and impressions. These are things that we've been reviewing for the site recently. Actually, Jordan, did you have anything this recently?
I mean, I got a toothbrush.
Yeah, tech.
Yes, I got the Clean Pro X Elite toothbrush and a water pick.
Okay, how are they, Jordan?
Look, guys, we have a lot of fun here at CG. But there's one thing that we don't joke about, and that's tooth decay. It's the leading cause of death in America.
It's not.
And it's nothing to joke about.
It's not.
Disclaimer.
Tartar accounts for 90% of all problems in the human
that's also not true.
health.
Disclaimer, it's actually gingivitis.
I mean, to a certain degree, oral health does connect to
sure. I guess
it's like brushing your teeth. Because gingivitis can lead to like heart cancer, can't it? Or
I feel like you should just stop saying things, because
I know I read that somewhere.
There's some connection to some kind of tooth problem to the heart thing. Yeah, I have heard that, but I'm nowhere near qualified to speak on it.
None of us are. Literally, none of us are.
Specifically went to dental school just so I could write this review. It's a part of my training.
It's definitely not true. That's definitely a lie. 100% a lie.
Should have a big disclaimer across the bottom of the video. None of this is true.
I'll say, it's a pretty damn good toothbrush. It's got a really solid
Does it have an LCD screen, Jordan? I want LCD screens in my toothbrushes.
It's sort of, kind of. It's not great. It's not the best. It's yeah, it's kind of LCD, but it doesn't really do a lot.
Could it possibly do? Sorry.
You can choose your vibration setting or your cleaning settings. I think that's about it.
So it can adjust based on your needs for a toothbrush. Cool.
Yeah, so I think it's something it's got diamond polymer bristles or some shit. And
do your teeth feel more clean now than they've ever felt?
You know what? I will say it does a pretty damn good job.
There you go.
It's automatically set to a sort of a 2-minute timer. You can brush, and then once you're done, it'll sort of give you a reading. It gives you a score of your brushing, and it'll show you which between your bottom and your top teeth, how well it's got a gyroscope built in, so it
figures out what you've done.
Yeah, from the front to the back, so it sort of tells you what your your missed areas are and where to sort of improve.
I'm not gonna lie, that's ridiculous, and I love it.
It's it's actually genuinely helpful, right? Because I was last time I went to the dentist, I was actually told that sort of the lower back, my left side of my teeth, if I need to improve my brushing there, or it could lead to me needing another needing another like filling. So it's kind of like knowing that that's an area I need to sort of like focus on. Like it sort of helps when I'm brushing to like and get the sort of readout that like it's like, okay, you're doing a good job back there. Like, but also you gotta like focus on your other parts too. The only thing about it that I will say is really stupid, and it kind of makes me laugh, is that there's supposed to be an app for it, so you can like adjust your settings and track like what you're doing, and it straight up doesn't work. Like straight up doesn't work. I went into the comments on the Play Store to like see if it was just me, but like no, it's like every single person is saying like 1-star review. This app straight up does not work.
That seems like
so I don't know if it's just the toothbrush I had, because every time it's like, and it's not just me. Like I've seen a bunch of people have the exact same problem. You try to like Bluetooth the app or the toothbrush to the app, and it just like says that the SIN number is wrong, and it just will not connect. So it's like
weird.
I don't know if it's some
weird world we live in now with Zephyr masks and Bluetooth in your toothbrush.
The world is really dumb. The answer is the world is real dumb.
It's really weird and really kind of cool, but also just weird.
Mostly weird. Like 90%
in your fridge. You can play Skyrim on your fridge. That was
I don't want to do that.
That was made. that was the Bethesda.
I think I saw somewhere this week actually that you can play Doom by phone now. Like you call into a number or something.
That's really stupid. But
Go left. Shoot Debbie Gorgon.
No, too slow. You're dead. Too slow. He got you.
Shoot Taco Demon.
Why is Twitch Plays Doom not a thing yet?
Haven't they tried that yet?
Good question.
They've tried Twitch Plays Pokemon. I guess the fact that to like using a chat, like, oh, the chat says go left, go right, shoot. It would be really bad to play a game like.
Well, and even the whole thing with Twitch Plays Pokemon, didn't they have to like disable it for a bit because like people like weren't doing like what was necessary to like progress forward?
Yes, yes.
I believe on one of the runs, eventually that did happen, and they had to like install some rules on the fly for the very first thing to get through the game, and it was really tooth or nail, like whether they'd actually get through it on the very first run, but they did in the end.
They managed to make it,
and they're still going, I think, actually. But I'm seeing that people have tried Twitch Plays Doom. I'm just not sure how successful it was.
I imagine it'd be fun.
Seems
Twitch
like
plays
really
Dark Souls.
It's not really a way to play a first-person shooter.
Not even a little bit.
So Brendan, tell us about Archive 81.
Yeah, this is the new series by James Wan. I guess he's executive producer on the series. It is the story of a archivist who is hired to restore some old burned like Super 8 videotapes that are from some old apartment building, and as he does, he starts getting kind of a window into what happened at the building. And the concept of it is really good. I loved the actors. I loved how they kind of set the world up, where each tape acted like the restoring of the tapes acted as a framing device for the past section that kind of like gives you an idea of what happened and why it all happened, and you kind of got piecemeal every episode. You got a little bit more and a little bit more. But they had this concept of like found footage and all this kind of analog formats, but they kind of did that for like 5 seconds of each new episode, and they just like, no, just normal episode. It's just a normal digital recording that looks like any other digital recording. So you kind of lose that analog feel very quickly. Also, I felt the CGI they used made it feel more like a sci-fi original movie than the kind of dark plotting mystery that they were trying to do. And I don't know a way around that, because the way they're trying to tell is like the kind of the Ghost in the Machine type situation, but it looked real bad at times, and that took away from the feel of the episodes. It also took away the dread. Like there was a lot of good moments of dread, and then there's a lot of cheese that kind of makes it not work as well as it could. There's a lot of just missed opportunities throughout the season, and it ends in a way that I wasn't hugely a fan of. There's a lot of it could have been a lot better because the actors they had were great, but they tried doing a lot of things that just didn't work as well as it could, and it just failed in part due to that.
This is something quite different for James Wan, isn't it? Like,
well, he's only executive producing. He's not directing. Let's be clear.
Oh, okay.
But he did Saw. He's done the Fast and the Furious movies. So he's done a lot of weird stuff, and he did the Conjuring movies as well. So he knows.
For him, I always think of like Fast and the Furious, and like that's end of list. I forgot he did Aquaman.
Oh, he did Aquaman too. Yeah. Oh.
Yeah.
Oh. But because one of his first movies was Saw, so he knows horror. And yeah, Dana was saying the first episode didn't grab her. So.
So this is all launching then on tomorrow?
It's Netflix? Launching tomorrow on Netflix or midnight or whenever Netflix puts its new stuff up. But yeah, and it's 8 episodes for the first season. We'll see if we get to the second season. Side note: this is based on a podcast that you can just go and listen to right now if you want to kind of just spoiler your way through the season, I guess. It's funny because I was watching the episodes. I'm like, this feels familiar. I don't know why. And I looked up like the names in the show. I'm like, oh, it's based on a podcast I actually listened to.
So how does it compare to the podcast then?
The podcast, again, same problem. The first half is really good because it's kind of like a mystery. Like you don't know what's going on. A lot of like dread and stuff. Yes, well, Painting Dana's Office is when I actually first listened to the podcast. But after about halfway, they kind of go a little too sci-fi, and it takes away a lot of that like plotting dread they kind of tried to build up, and it becomes more like a sci-fi type story rather than a ghost or like mysterious happenings type story. And I feel that takes away the fear that the original part of the season kind of brings forward. I feel it's hard to do that kind of show that kind of bends on those two realms of like sci-fi horror and just straight up horror. And when it's done badly, it can kind of fall flat. And when it's done well, you get Alien or that sort of thing. And I feel this is more on the bad side, but that's me.
Well, it sounds interesting. Yeah, it's always tough when you peek behind the curtain too far with something like that. Like Signs comes to mind.
Signs. Ooh.
Yeah, that's kind of like my go-to example of like, oh, here's this cool build-up, and it all just leads to this ridiculous half hour. That's
and I feel
mad, actually,
and that's the thing for me. It is the problem of building up mystery and dread is great, but if you don't have the payoff to actually deliver on that, just leave it like a mystery. Don't ever show something that's going to take away all the work you've done building it up.
Yeah, veer towards Blair Witch instead of Signs.
I mean, like, look at this way. If Alien had like a big purple, like, fuzzy monster as the creature, you'd be like, well, that was a letdown.
I don't know. You know, I feel like they could have made it scary. Then it would have been all right.
But you have to be able to deliver on what you're building up. And I felt the CGI they used and the kind of bad multi-dimensional thing they went with just didn't really work as well as there are ghosts and this cult worships them. Go.
Yeah, it's like, where do you land with that too, though, right? Like that's only like 3/4 of the road laid.
Yeah, exactly.
Well, in terms of review stuff, the last thing I actually had, again, did get a chance to talk to you last week, was I reviewed Final Fantasy 14 Endwalker, which has been out for a little while now. Yeah,
Chris?
I adored it, actually. You know, it's funny with expansions like this because it's actually going to last 2 years before it's actually done. Just
2 years
with the way that they do their update cycles,
and you still can't purchase it, which I find crazy.
Yes, the sales are still disabled because there's too many people trying to get on, which made reviewing it real fun.
So weird.
Yeah, it's just it was bonkers. Like I'd go to log on and there'd be 4,000 people. That just never happens. Like normally when I try to go on, even at peak hours, like 40, 50 people, and it was 4,000. So that
they're all leaving WoW and they want to go somewhere else. And again,
exactly, yeah, that's a big part of it. Is the WoW exodus. But,
and Final Fantasy 14 seems to really have just like claimed every single person that left WoW for some weird reason.
Well, we're all trying to go to get that fixed, right? Like it's the best other thing in town right now.
Yeah.
But yeah, so with the way they do their expansion cycles, like the game like the expansion launched, it has like a self-contained story, and then they spend like the next 2 years adding patches and adding content, and more story stuff comes out. And usually that kind of period is used to bridge the gap between that and the next expansion. What they did with Endwalker this time is that the expansion, when it launched, had the whole concise story of Endwalker, and when the next patch when the next major patch 6.1 comes out in a few months, it'll be the start of like the next story saga. So what they've done is they've wrapped up the whole story of the whole game so far, and they're moving on to something else within the story.
Okay.
So basically, yeah, normally it would be 2 years before you'd see like, the end of the storyline. They didn't do that this time. They crammed it all into one. And it was by far the most concise and interesting and well-paced expansion to date for the game. They have a real habit of sending you on fetch quests and things like that. There's parts in Shadowbringers, the previous expansions, where it's just like, you're so clearly stalling for time. Please let me move on. And like even all those new players, like the community's constantly telling them, like, yeah, the core expansion, the core experience is really slow. It's building a lot. Just be patient. It's going to be a slog. Just get through it. Yeah, not so much with this. It was by far the game's best writing and pacing experience for all that, and just gets into really interesting thematic stuff, which I won't say too much because it's spoilers, and also dependent on for previous expansions of story development.
That's a lot.
But yeah, no, they managed to make all the narrative, pull all the narrative threads through. There's some stuff that comes up. It's like, oh my god, I forgot about that. All this stuff, this certain thing that happened 3 expansions ago, and it's brought up and it's relevant and it's handled well, and it doesn't detract from the whole thing. It's a really fine balancing act they pulled off.
That's cool.
Yeah, there's 2 new jobs as well, Reaper and Sage. I got to try them out during the preview thing, and I still can't use the Sage class worth a damn because I'm not a good healer. It's more of an advanced class that had me daunted like right away. I was like, no, I can't do this up. I'm gonna get somebody killed. I'm gonna get booted out the party. But the Reaper class is kind of fun. That like you have a big death scythe essentially, and it's got some cool teleportation things. Really expands the core gameplay in an interesting way. But yeah, no, I gave it a 9.5. It's and I said by the time that all the expansion content comes out, like by the time the next story is about to arrive and this one's put to bed, it's going to be probably a 10 out of 10.
That's awesome.
Wow.
But
it's so crazy, like to think like how far like Final Fantasy Online has come since like what was it, 12?
11 was the first
online. Or 11. Sorry, 11. Yeah, and how like just how poorly received that one was, like compared to like the things that were out at the time. And now, yeah, like whenever I see people talking about like basically like any MMO nowadays, it's pretty much exclusively Final Fantasy 14.
Yeah, no, it's fine.
And it's like
go ahead.
Oh, I was gonna say it's crazy to me just hearing you talk about too like all of the narrative structure and how well put together it is, like because like thinking back to like even like WoW in its heyday, like when I was playing it, like I know like they were they did stuff with like Wrath of the Lich King and all this stuff, and like it's like it was meant to be these like big monumentous like moments. But like when you're playing it, at no point did I ever feel like it ever really mattered. Like
a lot of cool like set pieces and no substance.
Pretty much, yeah, right. Because it's just like all the questing and like stuff just felt all the same. The way you got quests all felt the same. Like it didn't really have that sort of like production flair, right?
Yeah, there's no like narrative substance to it. I've really only played Final Fantasy 14 when it comes to MMOs. Like I've done a 30-day trial of WoW and just thought nothing of it. Not for me, especially knowing how the end game grind is. I'm just not.
Yeah.
No. Guild Wars 2 was kind of an interesting one as well. Oh yeah, no. Nowadays it sounds like hell.
It sucks.
It's probably sucks. But yeah, Guild Wars 2 is another one I've tried, and that did a better job of trying to tell a narrative in an MMO. It's a tough medium, to be fair. Like it's not built for story content.
No,
necessarily, not the same way any other like offline Final Fantasy game would be per se.
Yeah.
So all the more kudos that it feels so powerful, and it feels like one of the best Final Fantasy stories they've told in like a decade. So yeah, no, and to come back to your point about Final Fantasy 11 too, like that came out before WoW. and it's kind of died for a little bit. Like they literally stopped making story content for it a couple of years ago, and during the pandemic, it's seen a resurgence too. Like it's getting new story content. There's like a lot of people playing it by comparison. And yeah, no, it's like it's such as the power of Final Fantasy 14 that's brought back 11 to some extent too.
Yeah,
that and being trapped inside that'll do things to people.
Yeah.
So yeah,
I'm just going to throw this out there just to wrap up just a ridiculous story. You remember Logan Paul bought that $3.5 million box Pokemon cards?
Oh yeah.
Apparently it's fake. Like, straight up fake.
So wait, he got scammed, or the whole thing was just a bullshit story?
No, he got scammed, and then he kind of credited his money back, and now they're trying to get the money back from the original person. And it sounds like a lot of money that they just got scammed on, and that's ridiculous.
So his history,
apparently there's some G.I. Joe cards in there. Like it seems like there was just random stuff in the box.
It was a rule card for poker.
No, like kudos to that guy.
Take these out of the deck.
That's just some real ingenuity and like entrepreneurial spirit to just be like, I'm going to throw some crap in a box and bait Logan Paul.
Yeah.
I mean, but come on, he baited Logan Paul. Like, was it that hard?
It's kind of like do a Roadrunner trap essentially, like Wile E. Coyotes out there putting Pokemon cards in a cardboard box in Iowa.
He ran into a painted wall.
I just had to mention that because it was just like, of course it's fake. Like 100%, of course it's fake.
I'm just kind of worrying now how fake fantastic. Is it too? Like, was this all a plant? Like, oh my god, Logan Paul's gonna buy $5.3 million carrots and stage the whole thing.
No, I think he's clawed his money back or something like that. And this sounds all super dumb, but it's amazingly super dumb.
I don't think I've heard a single thing with his name in it that wasn't super dumb, to be fair.
No, that is 100% accurate. You're not wrong.
It's kind of like on his business cards. Dumb.
Will be super dumb.
Will cause spectacle for money.
Yeah, apparently he's a good boxer, though, from what I hear.
Mm-hmm. Sure.
I heard he's not half bad.
It's all relative.
Can take and throw a punch. I believed it was him.
I mean,
who did he fight though? Was it another
Floyd Mayweather?
Yeah, he fought Mayweather.
But Mayweather's also like in his 50s.
Yeah.
So, let me be clear here. I still could not fight Floyd Mayweather. Let me be.
I don't think I could fight either one of them, to be honest.
Yes, that doesn't mean that I think if he went against someone that is like in their prime, do I think he'd win? I don't know. Probably not.
That remains to be seen. He's fought a lot of like retired or like low tier boxers.
It's kind of going down to the retirement home and picking somebody to punch you.
But then again, it still is Floyd Mayweather. Even like in his 50s, it's still like. Would you pick a fight with him?
No, I already said that. I would.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, that's what I mean. Not you.
One retired Mayweather is worth 10 Jordan Biortis, maybe.
Yeah.
Power ranking level.
I mean, Floyd Mayweather is now. I'm looking how old he is. He's only 44. Oh, okay.
Well, there you go.
Well, there you go. I thought he was much older. He's only like 6 years older than me.
That's sobering.
Well, you could maybe take him.
No, I couldn't.
Not that much of an age gap. You just hit the gym.
He's been retired for how long and carried the 2
and learn how to box.
Just punch.
That's
easy.
Not the situation at all.
Have you played Punch Out? You just gotta dodge, wait till he gets tired, and do an uppercut.
I'm gonna say no.
Yeah, that's a good question. Which boxer from Punch Out would Floyd Mayweather be the closest to?
Mayweather.
Merriweather.
He's
a hobbit now.
He's a British nanny now.
Could you take a punch from Floyd Mayweather, a hobbit version?
No,
maybe
right in the thigh.
But Sam killed a bunch of orcs. He could probably take Mayweather.
Orcs are basically pure muscle.
Exactly. He murdered a bunch of, and he killed Shelob.
This is ridiculous. Which guy's been playing?
But to answer your question, Chris, the one person who could beat Floyd Mayweather from Punch Out would probably be Mike Tyson.
And Mr. Dream.
Well, yeah, but we know who he is.
Mr. Dream.
We know who he is.
For legal reasons, it's Mr. Dream.
Yeah.
Anyways,
or debatably Little Mac because he beat everybody.
canonically speaking, I suppose.
Yeah.
Yeah. Anyways, Bernie, you were playing Hades recently, right?
I played a bit of Hades. That was a while ago. Actually, everything I've been playing this week, I can't talk about because of embargoes and such.
Dana was
So
really
that's
excited
less
to talk
exciting.
about it too. From what I
Hades
remember.
is fun though. Hades is really
Oh,
cool.
it's so good.
Yeah, solid game, and it's on Game Pass right now. So if you
Right.
haven't played it, play it.
I was thinking I need to play it because everyone keeps talking about it like every like 2 months.
It's really good. It's solid.
And it's
Dana's really bad at it apparently.
It's super interesting because I wasn't a huge fan of Bastion or Transistor before Hades, but like I could not stop playing Hades once I finally got.
And also the art style and story is great too.
The art style's great. The depth and level of like dialogue and like how much like voice acting went into it. Like it's just
so much voice acting for a game that's like
crazy.
Yeah, it's a really good game.
The amount of different like combinations you can get to from like the different like god boons you get, like other gods will like have like dialogue prompts through it. Like it's nuts. Oh yeah, no, it's so good.
It's fantastic.
Yeah, it's one of those ones I need to get on because, like I said, every
get on that, Chris. Come on,
finally playing Hades. God damn it, I should really check that out. I don't know. Roguelites have a small shelf life with me. Like I don't love the roguelite formula.
It's really easy to get into.
And yeah, and it's not a roguelite so much as it is a rogue legacy. Because there are roguelite elements to it, but there is a lot of ways that you can get like permanent upgrades to keep going through the through like each like level or each run. And again, and it's not like a lot of these other roguelites that like like the Binding of Isaac, for example. Like the Binding of Isaac gets to a point like once you've played it enough that the runs themselves become so crazy long that it goes from like, okay, you start the game, it's like 4 levels and then the final boss, and you can get through it in like a half an hour to like these runs that like literally take you like 2-3 hours to finish. It's like there's only 4 levels, and it's very easy to blow through them really fast.
And Hades does
fun every time.
Well, I mean, the 4 sections. There's like lots of different rooms and stuff.
Rooms. Yeah.
I think each section has about 8 rooms or something like that. It's something.
Something like that.
And they randomly generated, so it is different every single time.
Mm-hmm.
Well, speaking of things I have been playing and Game Pass, I have found myself sucked into Halo Infinite's multiplayer somewhat. I still haven't touched the campaign, but something clicked with me with it. I don't know. I was a fan of Halo 3 and Halo Reach's multiplayers and sunk a fair amount of time into those. But it wasn't until I tried Infinite with a friend that I was kind of like, oh my god, this is actually a lot of fun. And I've like last weekend they were doing the samurai events that they have in Infinite where you can get samurai themed gear for your Spartan, and so I got sucked into that. Although it's still not a great way of unlocking those. Like you have to do special challenges that are themed to the event, but the challenges you get are also randomized, so you have to use these challenge swap things that you can get from the past and other things to like actually get them to come up to the samurai challenges. Yeah, it's not a great delivery system, and they're still working on it. And I still find it really annoying in that you unlock parts for specific armor cores, right? So you have your Mark 5, your Mark 7, and the samurai armor core. But like if you unlock a color for one armor core, you can't just use that on any armor core. It's only for the Mark 7. If you want colors for your Mark 5, you need to buy the battle pass and unlock special different colors for that armor core.
That's so dumb.
Yeah,
it's insulting, really. Like it's just like just basic colors, like not even like the fancy golden armor or anything like that. This is just stuff that you could have gone into Halo 3 10 years ago and just put on your Spartan.
Changed.
Yeah.
I think we kind of knew to a certain degree that like the battle pass was going to sneak its way into Halo Infinite, like and probably more so because they made it like a free to play like add-on thing separate from Halo Infinite's like main story. So it's gross, but that's the game industry for you.
Well, I mean, Some battle
Like,
passes are better than others. Like I still think Destiny 2 does a good job with their battle passes, but this is just plain insulting, exploitative, whatever you want to call it. It's bad.
Yeah.
But that samurai armor does look pretty cool, so what am I going to do?
grind.
Grind. Speaking of grinding, the other thing I tried actually this week was Dark Souls 3, and I was about ready to quit.
That's fair.
Yeah, that's the penultimate Dark Souls experience. You play it for 10 minutes and you're ready to quit.
I gave it an hour. First of all, that character builder does not look good. The game did not finish well.
Well, but you know what? It's almost like it's a joke, because you can it's so in depth, like how much you can sort of like customize your character, and then you spend the entire game wearing armor that you cannot see your character in. It's pointless. It's absolutely pointless.
I experienced this phenomenon where I'll spend time in a character builder, make something I'm happy with, and it looks good in the character builder. First cutscene looks like garbage.
Yep.
But after I finished my character in a thing and started to load before he went off the screen, I was like, God, he looks bad already. What's he gonna look like in game? I'm already starting at a really low point.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, I got to the first boss and gave it like a good hour's try. Couldn't get anywhere. Had it all down to a science with like how to actually beat the enemies outside of the boss room. Had that all figured out. Had that feeling like a badass. Go in there and just get absolutely trumped. Really demoralizing. And then like I was ready to take my copy out of a PS4, trade it in. But I was talking to a friend and I was like, I was doing this, and this. He goes, "You're doing everything right. Just keep trying to get through it. And see how you like it past that point." Well, damn, I'll try it.
And I'll say too that the first boss in Dark Souls 3 is like a genuinely hard boss. It's that giant. I forget its name. It's like a giant suit of armor, and then once you get it down to half health, it like morphs into this giant like amorphous blob.
Oh yeah,
like
that's
arm
a weird one.
With like a spear. Yeah, it's like it's genuinely one of the harder like first bosses for a Souls game. Because like the pit demon in Dark Souls 1 is like genuinely pretty easy.
I mean, the Dark Souls 1 had some weird. That one that had the butterfly. Was that Dark Souls
2? You need a ranged weapon or magic, or you got to bring that.
And if you don't have that, you're like, I don't. So I went there and I had nothing ranged. So I'm sitting going, I literally cannot hit it. I don't.
There's like one opening where it lands towards like where the bridge is, but it's just it takes so long for it to happen. But even that boss is like pretty easy to kill. Like once you figure it out.
And even like I still remember the ways I cheesed Demon Souls. Like I went to the I got Stormbringer and went to the place with the manta rays.
Yeah.
And you just slash the sky and like you kill them all in like 5 seconds. Walk back in, do that again. And okay, I've just gained like 30 levels. Cool.
What Chris? What class did you pick?
Mercenary. No.
Should have gone waste of skin.
See, that sounded like a challenge class to me. Like that.
It's what, but that's the thing. It really isn't like just because like again like the first level, like the first enemies in the area, like they're all pretty easily killable. So like waste of skin is genuinely like, and I was convinced too, because I always thought picking like the knight or the mercenary was like or the assassin was like the better choice. But Brendan Quinn like really sold me on it, because like when you start with a character who has basically like just like a 1 on every stat, it like gives you a lot more freedom to build the character how you want and to like min-max your stats in a way that like, so like if you really want to build a character that's like primarily focused on strength or primarily focused on skill, like you can really like put those skills where you want them to be. Whereas like you choose the warrior class, he already starts with 10 skill points in strength, so it like kind of like F's your build a little bit.
That makes sense.
Yeah, I mean, the mercenary sounds like a good compromise in terms of strength and also being maneuverable. Like from what I do, what little I do know of the series, and
the knight is hard. The knight is slow.
Yeah, and like from what little I've seen of people play the game, there's a great run by Monster Factory with the McElroy brothers where they've modded the game so much that like all the enemies come charging at you from across like the whole area. It's fantastic. So like I had that like pro strategy, my dodge. So I wanted to maintain that balance between speed and like attack, but I just wasn't doing anything to the boss, and like I started to reach this point of like, is the whole game going to be like this? Like, is this whole game going to just disrespect my time and energy?
It is. Well, 100%.
And this is why honestly I would recommend, because I remember like long ago when I remember like kind of like first when Dark Souls like started blowing up. At the time I had Dark Souls 2 on the 360, and I like for the life of me could not get into it. And it really wasn't until I played Bloodborne that I like genuinely fell in love with like Souls like games. So I would recommend to you, Chris, to play Bloodborne first. And if you can get through like because Bloodborne's
like, harder, I find.
Well, you know what? I find it's the opposite because I think because the way Bloodborne is sort of structured more to be a bit faster and more combat focused, like the way it sort of incentivizes you into combat, like with the health system and everything, it's a bit easier to get into. And then once you sort of understand how Bloodborne works, I found for me at least, it was actually easier for me to get into Dark Souls after that.
Interesting.
I mean, Demon Souls remaster is kind of great, so you could do that too.
Would that be like
PS5?
Oh yeah, but like, does that be like easier?
Demon Souls is more plotting.
Yeah, it's a very different kind of game.
Like if you learn, like it's always the exact same. So if you learn like the placement of enemies and stuff, like you can basically jump over here, kill a guy. It becomes kind of almost a waltz as you learn the levels.
Gotcha. Yeah, no, like I really enjoyed Jedi Fallen Order, which is like a Souls like.
Yeah, it's very Souls.
And even like the demo for Stranger of Paradise Fallen Fantasy Origins, like I didn't mind that either, but yeah, no, that boss fight really, I mean, and it's there, you can clearly tell it's there to scare people away. Like this is the gatekeeper of the whole experience, but I was about ready to throw away my key at that point.
Yeah. And I know I think I've heard a lot of like fans of the Dark Souls series say that like 3 is one of the like lesser liked ones. Like
I think 2 was the one that people had the most problems with.
Yeah, 2 I think is the most hated. 1 is still sort of beloved as the best.
That sounds about normal.
It's 1, 3, 2.
Yeah. And I think Soul and or like Bloodborne sort of like off in a league of its own.
May vary by audience, yeah. And then Jordan, what are you playing this week?
Oh, I finally got around and actually played video games this week, if you can believe it.
I don't believe it.
I've never heard of it.
So I finally sat down and gave Death's Door a chance. And,
Speak of Souls-like or roguelike.
You know what? It's not super rogue-likey. It's actually fairly structured. It reminds me a lot of Hyper Light Drifter, actually. It's got a very similar style, that kind of like top-down-ish, like, you know, it's kind of Zelda style gameplay. Very similar style of like you start the game with a melee weapon and a ranged weapon, and you like restore ammo for your ranged weapon with like melee hits. So it's a lot of like, you know, get a few hits in, dodge, like pop a couple range shots off, get back in, like you know, keep moving in and out of the fight. Very, very like very cool art style. I really like, you know, you play as a little raven. It's really cute. And I haven't gotten super far into it. There's sort of like 3 specific like dungeons you have to go into. So I kind of just started the first one, but I'm really liking its vibe. And I finally got around to playing Deltarune Chapter 2. Now, y'all know me, how much I love. Yeah, say the same old G. Love me some Undertale. You know, as much I love Undertale, is one of my favorite games of all time. You know, tied for first with Metroid Prime. And Deltarune Chapter 1 was like no exception. It's like Toby Fox doing what he does best, which is crafting a like genuinely like interesting world with like endearing characters, like a really deep like gameplay, like really subversive elements to like the RPG structure and the narrative structure. Even the whole way like the first chapter starts, you know, like kind of flipping the ideas that Undertale had on its head, that like, you know, this is a game where sort of like choice matters, and you spend the whole like, you know, first like 5 minutes putting together a character just for the game to go, all right, F you, like it doesn't matter. The character, we're going to give you the character, like nothing, your choices don't matter in this game. And so I kind of when they released the second chapter, I downloaded it on the PC. Like when I went on Twitter and saw that like Toby Fox was like, "Hey, I'm gonna release the second chapter of Deltarune. You guys can download it." And I kind of just like held off on playing it. I think because I was like scared because I had such reverence for these games that like I just like I wasn't ready to jump into the second chapter. But I finally did, and it's just as good. The whole setting is like cyber themed. Like the characters are all great. The way that they sort of like split you up and give you like new characters that join your team is really unique. The special boss that you get in it, because like so the first chapter had a special boss, and now this one did. It was a little bit more like front and center with it. But it was cool because it like tied into like Undertale a little bit more too. Like there were a lot of like little subtle nods to a specific character in Undertale. And the music was amazing. There was a freaking Strong Bad reference in this. I swear to God, there was. Oh my God, it was. There's these three characters. They're sort of like modeled after like an old CD player, like a boombox, and like a I think it was like a turntable. And they're called Sweet Cap'n Cakes, like KKS. Which any Strong Bad fan knows it's Sweet Cup'em Cakes. And there's actually a part where they actually like if you recall the part from the Sweet Cup'em Cakes, like Strong Bad's character with the Casio head that he plays the demo when he gets mad, they actually like used that on like a loop. They just like kind of like altered it a little bit. And I texted my one
language, yeah.
Yeah, I texted my one buddy who again like he's like me, he's a huge Undertale and Strong Bad fan, and I like texted him a picture. I'm like, this cheeky bastard, he threw a Strong Bad reference in here. And he's like, oh, so I guess we have Girl Squad, but it's okay. He was just like, what's her face? The ugly one. Oh my God, that's so yeah. So it's just I honestly cannot speak highly of it enough. And I mean I was genuinely like leveled by it because I didn't realize too that Toby is planning 7 chapters for this game. I thought he was just doing 4.
There you go.
The first 2 were going to be free, and then everything else was going to be paid for afterwards.
Comes out to a good question from Ed in the chat. Wanted to know: is it worth playing the episodes as they come out, or best to wait for the whole thing to drop?
I think it depends, because I really feel like you can, if you want to wait for him to release all of it, then you're probably going to be waiting quite a while, because
that's fair.
Not been too long between chapters, right? Like it.
Well, yeah, it was like what I think like a year or 2. I think he put the first chapter out in 2000.
That's a long time.
I think the first chapter came out in 2019. Maybe
was it that long already? Okay, I thought it was like 6 months.
Well, because
a year per chapter. That means we're going to be waiting a while to get to this.
I remember he released the first chapter, and then like on PC, and then it was a bit of a while before it came out to consoles and stuff. I just want to. I'm just going to try and look it up very quickly right now if I can find it, because I want to say it was 2018, but I think it might have been 2019. Was it 2018?
December 31st.
Yeah,
Oof, that's a ways.
So yeah, so that's what I mean. Like, so it's been a little bit of a while. So, like I think like you can play them in gaps. And because I feel like the way that Toby thus far has sort of been setting up this universe as like it's kind of connected to Undertale, but also seemingly separate from Undertale. Like there's hints that like things are like that. There's parts of the story that are connected, and there's like little like narrative threads that if you know enough about the story of Undertale and what it's like, sort of more like meta themes were, then like it kind of makes sense. And like to have those gaps between release times kind of like gives you a lot of time to sort of like speculate, and there's that like level of fun behind it. But I think you could probably wait for the whole thing to drop if you want to. Personally, I wouldn't, just because like this is just I need my Deltarune fix as much as I can.
That's fair.
Yeah, I think I heard Yahtzee say that on something recently that he's waiting until it's all out because he loves like details so much. Like, but yeah, that's a long gap between if it's all
I don't want to wait 7 years to play a game. That's a long time.
That's what I mean. Yeah, because he's basically building this thing like by himself. Like I know he does have help from other people, like doing like some coding work and stuff, but like for the most part, like all the story, like most of the music, like everything, like he does it all. Like character designs and everything. Like he pretty much comes up with everything.
That's
so
cool.
Unless he's been using that time to kind of preload like the content, and he's got like a much more in the works than would suggest. That could be a very long time.
Yeah.
Which it gives you the time to speculate, but it also gives you that much time for you to forget the whole rest of the experience to soften the impact. So I guess you can go either way.
But that's also, I think it plays well into that thing because of there's so like well contained little experiences that like it's genuinely hard to forget what happened in it. Like it is so memorable and it has such staying power behind it that like it like it just sort of like it gets you excited for the next one. The next one happens, you're like, oh shit, like that connects to that part and that connects to that part, kind of like, and this guy knew this thing, like it's
cool.
Got a little excited there.
Yeah, you did. It happens. These things happen. But that's going to do it for us for this week, actually. So if you'd like to read more on these news topics we talked about at the top of the show and more, you can find full coverage at CGMagOnline.com. Be sure to follow CG Magazine on all the socials, like here on Twitch or wherever else you're watching this. You can search for us under CG Mag, and you'll find us one way or another. If you have any questions or comments, I know, right? It's visibility online. If you have any questions or comments, you can send them to podcast@cgmagonline.com. We'd love to answer them on the air if you didn't get your questions in the chat. This is our second episode doing the whole live thing. Trying out some new software this time, which I saw Brandon just found something while we were chatting a minute ago. Didn't know we could blast the questions on screen like that.
We can.
Cool. It's kind of neat.
Fascinating.
But we'll keep playing around with this format. Let us know what you think. And until then, where can people find you, Brendan?
BFry26 on basically everything.
And Jordan?
You can find me on Twitter, Instagram, and TikTok at Ninja X Jordan, and you can find me on YouTube at Ninja Jordan Reviews.
What is this, a hat for ants? And you can find me on Twitter at Hoogathy, that's HOOGATHY, or here on Twitch at Guild2Taps. So thanks for tuning in, and we'll catch you next week. We can wave, I guess.
Farewell.